Hi, and it's a warm welcome to the first question mark. Catherine asks, what advice would you offer businesses to keep their culture good despite furlough, closures, and redundancies? Thanks, Catherine. Okay, so with Catherine's question, I feel that there's three audiences here at play. So the first one is the still working audience. The second one is furloughed or flexi furloughed. And the third one is redundant. So the main thing I would do is I would segment the three audiences and really start to think about how you want them to think, act, and feel. And if that's the punchline, you just need to write the joke. So if you want them to feel a certain way, then how are you going to get them to act? And then also before that, what do you want them to think? And then all of your communications and your strategy will come from that in terms of what happens, where, when, and to who. So also with the still working audience, I would say make sure you've got your brand defined, have it down in terms of values and in terms of your two-word DNA and your positioning statement, all the stuff that I always bang on about to all of my clients. Also, what was the culture like before? This is a great chance for you to start again and really start afresh and start thinking about what you can do to really help the audience. So, almost cancel what's happened before in a lot of ways and just ask afresh and say, what can we do for you now? What kind of company do we want you, or do you want us to be? How can we best serve you as employees? And actually, there's an old sort of adage, but really, you work for them, they don't work for you. You're there to make their life better and to make the culture better, to make them more productive and more successful. That's the way I really feel that it should be. So then from there, I think it's got to come from the top, but the leader's not going to be able to do that on their own. So you've got to set aside, some real time for this each week, and it's non-negotiable. It can't be cancelled for a few activities. So whether it's a catch-up cuppa, whether it's, almost pretending that you're doing the commute to work together. If you're going out on a walk, maybe you can have a walking buddy that you maybe have on video, or, you have a call with as you're walking, but also try and be in the moment and enjoy the walk. So there's all these different sort of levers that you can pull, set tasks, gamify it, and make it fun if that's the kind of organization that you are. Also, what can you do to try and figure out about people's mental health? So, making sure there's, counseling going on, there's talking to each other, there's maybe some buddy systems, things like that as well. Also, you want to, take examples from the best activity that's going out there. So what brands do you love? Keep your ear close to the ground. It's easy to search stuff. What are the greatest brands out there doing? And also, look at things like the best employers in the Times, for example, across the years. What are they doing? Because you can be sure that they're leading the pack in terms of what's happening. Even there's some daft stuff. I was working with a big insurer and they were trying to engage their home working community. And one of the things that came back was that they wanted kitchen towels, in terms of, dishcloths and things like that, that were kind of fun but branded. And so it's just the oddest thing. Also, is there anything you can do to help people work at home as well, to switch off and delineate if they can between work and home life, when that time's over? You shouldn't expect them to be there all the time just because they're doing nothing else. But there's some fun things, like my wife used to work at BT, and there was one lady that she was a home worker, and at the end of the day, she would pack everything away and she'd put on her bag and her sort of proper clothes on and all that, and she would go out the back door of her house and then walk around the block a few times and then come in, and that was a ritual to say, work is done. I think there's other things as well, go big. I think you're going to have to go bigger to make culture work at home than you would normally. So, you're going to have to do even more things. You're going to have to spend more time thinking about bigger initiatives to make everyone feel included. So maybe it is a campaignable thing that's all about, getting through this together, or helping each other, or being united, or something like that. Also, I would say, surprise and delight colleagues at home as well. The power of sending someone, a virtual gig ticket, or Maybe it's a coupon to watch the football on Sky, or whatever it's going to be, whatever they're into. That's really important as well. And for the sake of £10, you're going to keep that employee engaged, and they're going to feel a lot better about you. So you've got to make more of an effort, this being top priority. You've got to give people the tools to survive at home, and you've got to just try your best to keep people connected. But the best thing you can do is, even if you're a big business or a small business, and if you can't afford to do all these things, you don't have the time or resource, the most important thing is really for leaders to care, and for leaders to get in touch with all of the teams one by one by one by one often, even if it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and not to ask them to do anything, not to use that call for their benefit. Just be there to call, to listen and check in with people and really hear them. And, don't just listen to them, really hear what they're saying. And you can then have sharing sessions if you want as well, for everyone to check in. That can be with beer, of course. And maybe you have a whinging Wednesday where you have a spitball session of half an hour where everyone has beers and they get it all off their chest, because we can't go to gigs and sing out loud, and we can't go to football games and shout at the other team and all the rest of it. So people need to vent that in some way. So that could be very interesting. And the whole thing is just constant communication, and that doesn't cost anything. Basically being so honest. There's never been a better time to be more honest with your teams, and just try not to make it out of sight, out of mind. And then, of course, there's the furlough communities. So again, try to create a bespoke set of activities for them. So create a community across all of the workforce. You really don't want it to be an us and them thing. Can you create a furlough group as well, and a hub that gives advice, shares info, gives them leisure pursuits, and also self-improvement advice and things to do? Just try and keep them busy and engaged, and keep them happy. That's very, very important. No one should be left behind. As I say, you don't want it to be that us and then them situation. Giving training as well. I think that's okay on furlough. Yummy Pubs did that very well. And also, not to be sneaking anything, but do monitor who's taking it really seriously and who's, giving it their all. Because then again, you might find out that there's an issue with motivation, or there's an issue at home, or there's an issue with, the job that they've got. Maybe they don't want to be with you anymore and things like that. So that can all give you clues, not to sack someone, but to help them. So that could be very interesting. You can offer some fun stuff as well, groups around the latest TV and films and things about Christmas, and maybe all the things you wish you were doing, and wish lists and bucket lists and all these things. So it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it, to keep those furloughed people, engaged and part of the team. You've got to keep them as part of the team. Create tasks for the community again, achieve together. Maybe it's a group task. M&B and Green King did the TikTok stuff extremely well, where they all did a bit of a dance and they challenged each brand, and there's a bit of friendly rivalry there, which was excellent. And just see it as a way to get people match fit. Do they have development needs? Are there things that they could learn to be bigger and better and badder and stronger? Really look at this being pre-season training, or, firefighters just waiting for that call. And again, give them someone to talk to if they wish as well. Always be there, because it's really hard. Even if you are working at home or you're not working at home, everyone is going a little bit, stir crazy. So it's definitely something to check in on. And then lastly, with redundancies, all you can do here is really make sure that someone, as soon as this is happening, that you give them a space for you to let them know how you can help them, with their next job, giving them help, tips and advice. And I've always thought this, and I got this from Gary Twelvetree, who was my great boss at Barclaycard. And, and he was always saying, it's your job to help the person get their next great job. And if you've treated them well enough, then, that talent might come back. So, I don't think it should be about being shy or shying away from it, or, you've really got to face into it and explain the situation and just be as human as possible. And sure, there might be some, anger and worry and things like that coming back at you, but do your best and just be as supportive as you can to the person, and thank them for their service. It's really important. They've made you what you are, and, kept the business going, to what it is now, and built the business to what it is today. Keep them as part of the family if you can. There's always a chance for people to come back. And it's always the same if you reject someone for a job. You always want to be as nice and as kind as possible, because that could be a future star employee. You might want to get them back. someone in their family or friends group might want to come and work with you, and they'll ask how you've been. So from that perspective, and also they might be a customer as well. So you don't want to cheese anyone off. You want to be as good as possible. I'd really keep an eye on your social media, your searches and listens, search your listens and all that stuff, just to make sure what's going on kind of behind your back, if you like. And also just keep an eye on your Glassdoor and things like that, just to keep a check on how people think you're handling this situation, whether you are employed and working, employed and furloughed, or unfortunately you're going to be made redundant. And also, have the time and take the time to celebrate them leaving, give them a proper send off, don't let them go away without a bit of a cheer and a thank you. That's definitely the best way to go. So I hope that's answered your question. Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in today. Please tell your friends about Question Mark, and please email me your questions to mark@supersonic.marketing, and I will answer them for free.